to the office of the Speaker?
Oh, basically, I'm asking the Speaker to use his leadership role to convince Representative Rep Nyekan to provide the pieces of evidence he said he has and link him into several things. Number one, he referred to me as an ex-rebel, a jihadist, and he claims that I'm on the Ministry of State payroll receiving 5,000 United States dollars. I think these are grave allegations that tend to dent my reputation. Ordinarily, if these comments were made by the man in the street, I wouldn't respond. There have been several comments, negative comments about me in the past that I tend to let go. But for a man of his standing in our country to make such grave and unfounded allegations against a talk show host and an ordinary citizen, I think it deserves national attention. So I'm begging the Speaker to convince Representative Nyekan to make public the pieces of evidence he has.
And what happens if Representative Nyekan doesn't do that?
Now, I have several options. And one of the options, which I believe is the most civilized and decent way to do it, is to write the Speaker, which I've done today. The next step I have is the court option. I'm intending to take this as far as I can within my means, within my power. This is serious. Perhaps you don't know how serious it is. There are people all around Facebook and in the country who believe that the comments from Representative Nyekan speak to the truth. Like I said earlier, if the man on the street proffers such allegation, that would be understandable. But at his standing and being a component of our national political leadership, it sickens me for him to make comments of religious and tribal inclination. This is not a time for that. Referring to me as a Mandingo boy, as an ex-rebel, as a jihadist, it plays on the sensitivity of Mandingos and Muslims. As a leader, man who enjoys the mandate of the people in his district, including some Mandingos, to make reference to my tribe is beyond troubling. It's second means to the extent that I don't know what is overcoming him, what has gone wrong. His action is a novelty, it's a new thing.
Are you saying that all of the allegations levied against you by Honorable Nyekan are false and misleading?
They are all box of lies.
Are you a Liberian?
Also in my communication, I stated that going that line will be a fruitless effort. How does one become a Liberian is clear.
Are you a Liberian?
I am a Liberian by birth. I am a naturally born Liberian. I hold Liberian passport. I'm a member of the Sano County Bar. All those are indications. I don't have to waste my time over this identity of being Liberian because I know for sure, as a Mandingo man, it sounds a little bit lesser when people talk about it. There is a perception about Mandingos not being Liberian. It's troubling for us to start talking about tribe and nationality in this time.
Were you in any point in time around?
Another craziness on his part. I've never fought. Crazy. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense because it cannot be established. I was in Monrovia. I came back in 1996 from exile. Since then, I have been here, apart from travels around. I have been here going to school. The evidence to speak to my being here is endless. Many of you know that I was here. I didn't fight. I was not a member of law. I have never had any relationship with law as an institution.
There are claims that when you were at DC, you were lawyering from.
Yeah, another claim. In fact, the theory is that
that's why you got a lucrative job.
The theory is that
that's why you got a lucrative job.
Your question is already absorbed. The theory is I was an informer of law here. Another thing hard to prove. I don't want to dwell into that. What I can say with my heart and my sincere heart is that I've never interacted with law. I would never inform of law.
How did you get your slot at the port?
Ordinary man struggling, and there was an opportunity. He went around people and got a job. Everybody
what position did you hold in the port?
I was assistant operations manager for container operation.
And how did you get that job?
I just said it.
And the claims are two continuous disappearing.
We'll talk about that. I'll come to that. That's one of the allegations he raised. It's in the communication. He claimed that I stole 44 containers from the port. That's a lie.
I'm interested in knowing how you got the job at the port.
I just said
because those were jobs.
Young men here hustling, have relationship, have contacts, And of course, he makes some moves, and somebody gave him the job.
Yeah,
now listen, there is a guy they call Alhaji Fofana. He used to be with Lord. I know him. When he came in town, and George Dwyer, you know George Dwyer? When George Dwyer came, his first contact with media person was, I was the one he was interacting with, George Dwyer. In fact, I used to be in the Capitol building here, arranging their hotels.
What was Dwyer's position?
No, he was in law. I didn't know his position, but he later became Speaker of the Parliament of the National Legislature. So he became fond of me. We had a relation. Through that, I got to know people around Lord, and somebody pushed me, and I got to Lord, and I got to the National Port Authority where I worked for 3 years as the Assistant Operation Manager. And I went there because I had the ability and the little education to do the job. It was not because I fought for law.
What was your standard of education at that time?
No, I was just a year away from graduation as a college student.
Okay.
It was in the subsequent year, 2004, I graduated from the AME University, Political Science and English. And apart from that, I hold several other certificates.
Mamadee, why do you think, this is not the first time I've heard this. A lot of people have been coming up with these allegations, levying these allegations against you that you were fighting for law rebel. Where do you think all of this is coming from?
I wish I knew where it's coming from. First of all, it was first brought in the public glare by the Nation Times. Nation Times newspaper brought it up. And later online, it came on a Chronicle newspaper online, and it went wild on Facebook. But never a day or a time that I wasted my time in responding. You know, I have a personal philosophy that when my character become an issue ordinarily, I don't just rush to respond. Because I know this game. This is a game that I'm in. As a talk show host, you step on people's toes by your comments.
What kind of talk
As
show
a journalist, say that again?
What kind of talk show host are you?
The talk show host, you know. I'm a talk show host. I host
I
talk.
know. I mean, everybody will.
I'm a firing talk show host, a robust talk show host, a no-nonsense talk show host, a talk show host that is in-depth. When I sit on the radio, everything I say, I try my best to have a fair understanding and appreciation. If I end the question that you ask, the next one will be a fair time. Not just because of you, there are so many other persons listening. I'm a talk show host who is sensitive to what I say, what I do. There is this perception that I have been remote controlled, and that may have influenced the comments of Representative Nyekan by the executive.
Is it true?
Another total rubbish. Everybody who brought that to me, I asked them one question. Give me an instant where there is a position that I took that you believe was the wrong position, and the position absolutely sounded. I'm not the usual person who you will see being angry on the radio, trying to bombard the country with despair. I'm a positive person. When I come on the radio and I read my inspirations in the morning, they are intended to move people who are despair, people who are frustrated, to let them know that life, your current life cannot remain this way. I was never, again to reiterate, I was never a member of the Lord. I did not fight war. I didn't still continue from the port as prophet by Representative Nyekan to my being a jihadi. It's so absurd. It's a totality of absurdity for a lawmaker at a standing.
What have these comments brought to your
Personally,
reputation?
initially, I have not been moved by them. When they were published by the Nation Times, the Chronicle newspaper, and on Facebook, I have never been moved. Because I know that they may have been influenced by people who are pierced by my comments and who don't like my approach on issues. So I understand, as a talk show host and as a radio personality, obviously you know that not everybody will like you. People will hate you and they will make some moves to distract you. I am extremely focused. I understand this game and I'm into it with my conscience, not to hurt anybody, to entertain, educate, and inform. And I can tell you a few things. Those who are beyond this will be exposed. I'm meticulous, careful, and I will exhaust every civilized and legal means to make sure that Representative Nyekan is convinced. If that fails, he's compelled. If that's failed, the laws compelled by law to provide the evidence, the pieces of evidence he claims that he has in his possession.
What do you think
Remember,
beyond this?
I'll reserve that now, but I know there are people who are hurt. This is natural.
So
Being on the
radio
radio,
pay from MOS.
total rubbish. This is something. Look, the theory about the pay thing from the Ministry of State, as claimed by Representative Nyekan, can be verified. The payroll of the Ministry of State is available, and at his standing, he can just ask for it, and it will be given to him. To me, this borders on corruption. I'm calling National Legislature to launch an investigation of the Ministry of State. Why would they want to pay a journalist who is a non-employee
You're a journalist?
5,000? By definition, I'm a journalist. What do you mean I'm a journalist? I'm a journalist, trained as a journalist, professional journalist, with several certificates as a journalist, and well educated in the School of Journalism. I reported for the Analyst newspaper. I reported for DC 101. I have worked here, I have written, and those of perhaps many of you when we started practicing journalism, at that time you were just coming.
But now you are a talk show host, so you drop journalism.
Talk show and journalism, what's the difference?
What's the difference? Because you're extreme.
Just a minute, let me give you an education there. What's the difference between a talk show host and a journalist?
There's a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference. So which one am I respond to? Am I a talk show host? Yes. Am I a journalist? Yes. So what's the point?
So we're saying yeah. You are right now a talk show host.
No, this is important. It's a myth that I have to clear. No, I am a journalist. I'm a talk show host.
Sorry.
So if you want to dichotomize it, then you fly with that. Sure. But I can tell you for sure, a talk show as a journalist, the line is so thin. The idea is...
But there's a line. You believe it?
If it's thin, you can see it's blurred.
But there's a line.
It's blurred. Obviously, there's a line. You know, the thing about talk show and journalists that some of you trying to dwell on is it's too simplistic. Let's just leave that. I'm on the radio. I do journalism being on the radio because I inform, I educate, and I entertain. And being on the radio, the information I get is like being a journalist.
It's not giving information, it's giving balanced
information. No, my relationship
also,
PES have not been strong. I used to be a member of the
opinions.
PES, but for the past 3 years or so, I've not been able to, because I have some problem with the way the PES operates, and that's totally another subject. If at all we must make the PES relevant, there should be a peer review mechanism.
You think the PEL is not relevant?
If we want to make it relevant when it comes to the operations of media, then of course there should be a peer review mechanism where we can sit around the table that you are wrong, you are right. Stop this, do that. The PES is a very fine organization, as an umbrella organization, the media institution that I've associated with. The president of the PES, Mr. Abdullah Kamara, myself practice here. Peter Payne, I practice right in the building. Malcolm Joseph, these are people that can make reference to my being a journalist. So the question about me not being a journalist, I don't want to waste my time on the foolish venture like that. My prime objective of coming here this morning is to inform you, inform the nation that I have submitted a formal complaint to the Speaker, bordering on the evasion of care by Representative Nyekan and tagging me as a jihadist, a rebel, a thief, somebody who stole 44 containers from the port, and things like that.
What becomes of the complaint against you, Mr. Belete?
The stuff with the container, because he alleged that you were convicted. Do you even know such?
And you must say no convicted me, you were tried, you were found guilty. That didn't happen. If Representative Nyekan, I know his diction is very strong. He knows what convicted is. So I am asking the Speaker to use his leadership to convince, not to force him, to speak sense in the ears, to say, okay, Mr. Nyekan, where are the pieces of evidence you have to tie them men to a conviction? The court records are up. Walk across the road, go over there, get the court records. I have never been, let me say this, I have never been charged, brought before any court on any criminal charge. The only time I went to court was as a lawyer. The only time I went to court was to make representation from the police and through the courts. The only time I went to court was with my land issue. I have never been criminally brought before any court in this country. That is a fact that is verifiable. Only people whose patience are diminished will not want to ask questions. Nyekan embarrassed me. He embarrassed my name. He has brought my family under serious concern. Newspaper stories, I don't care. They can write what they want to write. But for a lawmaker of a standing, political standing, to take flight away from due care and tag me with unacceptable description, and he's very insensitive to the religious inclination he embedded in his utterance, that for me is my point of concern.
What's the relationship with the current government? What's the relationship with the ruling party?
Very good relationship with the ruling party. You care that one anyway. I have a very good relationship with the ruling party, a very good relationship with the politicians in the country, including all the political parties. And it's a good thing to have a good relationship with people.
What has Musa Belete told you?
Told me about what?
About the same matter with Representative Nyekan.
Nothing. Nothing. Musa has told me to let my judgment should guide me. I don't know about that. I heard that he was contemplating writing Mr. Belete, and I understand. I don't know what that letter received.
What is your version of what happened at your station when Representative Nyekan appeared on the truth?
Did you want to reserve comment on that? Because that would be a very... few things I can say.
Because that was some of the basis of
few things I can
his
say.
Comments.
You know, we had an engagement after the show.
Did you engage in as a journalist? Or?
I will refuse to answer that question. We had an engagement after the show, and it led into temper, and it led into acrimony. Fellow lawmakers intervened, and for me, it was over. After the show, I told Mr. Nyekan, I said, your words using words like squandered, to me, it's not a complimentary word. Those are harsh words. And he said, what squander means? I said, for me, squander is like stealing. He said, squander means stealing. Just follow the story, TT, and I beg your patience, let me just lay it down because that's an issue. So we walk in my office, I open my iPad, define squander, and squander means foolishly and wastefully spending. So he says, I told you, it means stealing. It means foolishly and wastefully spending. You don't know English, you know where. I taught 10,000%. At my school I went to, I was the best. And he started going on a pool of boast about his academic prowess. And I was shocked. I said, man, what you gotta be talking about? Then he jumped, he went further. He said, who are you? What can you do? If not for Madingo, Bene, Musa, Bene, you can't see them on the radio, you're disrespecting people. So he started, he was fuming. I said, oh, but what has overtaken this man? What really, just somebody who was, like we're saying, like, bro, setting for somebody. I said, my man, get from my office and leave. As if my comment,
why were you so,
let me end this story, will benefit you. So I told him, when I end the story, if not you, it will benefit the listeners. So I told him, leave my office. So my staff came to a security making and somebody came to visit me. And the person told me, why did he said he will not leave the office unless I escorted him out of the office like I let him into the office. I said, no, I won't do that. So on that also, words started flowing, trouble words came from his mouth. He started talking about religion. He started talking about how I'm dirty, who know me, I know where. Those kind of very arrogant posture coming from a leader of his standing. I was shocked. So I told him I will not leave my office. I called Tyler, Representative Tyler. One of my staff members called Clarence Massaquoi. I understand the speaker was called. His pastor, his wife, everybody called him to leave. He said he would not leave. We begged him to leave. He said he would not leave. To an extent that he pulled off his necktie, showing all signs of fighting because he felt that we were coming to assault him. I left my desk, walking towards to call my staff to get him out of my office, and he took out his staff. He was about to fight. I was like, what? What's happening? Is he real? Can you imagine someone pulling all his staff to fight? I said, no. I can't fight you. Gabriel, what is happening to you? I won't fight you. Leave my office. That is the most decent thing you can do. He refused. Later on, his brother drove from his house, came to the station, came to my office, and spoke sincere years before he left. And when he left, it was over. Former speaker, Edwin Snow, told me, leave it. I didn't mention it on my show. I didn't talk about it. I left it. You see, we are human beings, we make confusion, but our ability to let bygone be bygone and move on is a good thing. The only thing I heard the next day, he was on the radio, spewing out negative words on me, and start saying all type of things. And when my reporter called me and told me, I said, okay, you're carrying a story, I don't have a problem with it. But I see it's getting wider, and controversial. So my wisdom has invited me to start this process. Okay, so write the speaker. If it doesn't work, take another step. If it doesn't work, I will not fight him.
Mr. Diakite, you just said you are a robust, and most of the time you've been very critical on issues with your opinion. Why was your attention drawn to his word squandered and saying it was too harsh of a word to say?
Because I know squandered is a very strong word that is hard to prove.
So it's strong to say government was squandering? You wanted anything, you had something to protect with government?
Let me answer the question.
Please go ahead.
You asked a question I was supposed to answer, and this is the answer. The word squandered is a serious word for a lawmaker to use on government ministry without evidence. So I told him, I said, that word is serious, you can prove it. He said squandered doesn't mean steal. This is where the wahala started. Because as I thought it meant steal, and he thought no, it didn't mean steal.
But why did you decide to bring that up outside the radio? Why didn't you hold him on the radio?
That's normal thing. After show you lecture people, what's wrong with that? After the show, the members still start lecturing.
Because I think this is something strong, and you thought that he should be able to defend it if to the
no, that's your thought. Put into it. I didn't think so. What I thought it was not wise for somebody to say something that he can prove. That was my view. And I didn't say on the show.
Why would you think that he couldn't prove what he was saying?
Because I asked him on the show.
Money?
He said Minister Dugle, he said the Minister of State, and he named other people. Squandering money. In fact, the show was almost at the close. In fact, initially, he rejected the word squandered. He said misapply. But somewhere down the line of questioning, he came back with squandered, and he remained strong on it. I said, man, you can prove squandered? That's just common lecture after the shit that we're doing. And I had no bad motive. My intent was not to, it was just to share my thoughts with him that was so high the word that I did not expect from him on the public radio without substantiating. That was my point.
Finally,
so from my end,
since Rep Nyekan came up with this publication about you, there has been numerous of calls from callers on the radio, and their perception of you was that you always make lawmakers in particular and people who are not from the executive branch of government look ugly on your talk show. What would you say? What would be your
Because that is a
response to
perception, my answer is that's not true. I like to take my guests on. That's my style. My style is I like to be in command, in control. That's my style of interview. When I'm interviewing politicians, I know them. I know them very well. I know how they talk. And I know how they evade issues. Before you come to me, the subject of discussion is at my fingertip. I'm extremely informed. So it's not so easy to come and fly and dance me through the lies. Because I have a very good memory. So when you talk, I listen. And my ability to listen and then ask questions is strong. So when you come and you want to use political jargons to dance, no, I bring you back. It's not like I disgrace or embarrass them, because the issues that they will bring up, in most instances, I'm on top of the game. I'm always on top of the game when I'm doing my interview because I don't sleep. I read all the newspapers online. I go to all the Facebook pages and I talk to newsmakers that give me other sides of it. Like this morning, I had a story with the Nima people when they're talking about the scrap. The man was surprised when I told him, I said the scrap was $60 million. He said, how did you know? And that is a huge amount of money that Nima Kante is sitting on. So when that type of thing comes, then of course, politicians, the moment you strike them with the first fact, you know, they're shaking because they believe that you know more than they do. So that's the point. Now that, look, I'm a very humble man. I'm very respectful of people. I have temper, that's true. My temperament sometimes can go out, but it doesn't mean I'm rude.
Okay.
I was brought up in a very organized home where respect was the order of the day.
Would you finally, from my end, comment on your origin in terms of your ethnic background? We understand.
I'm a Madingo man.
Yeah,
and to say Madingo man from, wait, let me answer the question. To say Madingo man from Guinea can sound fine in somebody here. So if that is the case, I don't care.
From
I'm a Liberian, yeah, I'm from Sando. And you can say my name as a jacket.
Yeah, from Sando.
Yeah, I'm a jacket from Sando. Does that sound good in your ear?
Were you born in Liberia?
Yes, I was born at the FJ Grand Hospital in Greenville, Sando County. I have a video on YouTube when I returned for the bar mission. I met my boyhood friends. It's on YouTube, and they told me stories that we all did. I was born and bred in Greenville, Sando County. If my name can be a barometer to measure my citizenship, then Nyekan should be rewriting our constitution. Those plantation names you get here, they are more Liberians than I am. If I'm a product of the Mamadee Empire that encompasses Liberia, and I'm a Jakite, I'm a Kamara, I'm a Traore, you are a Wea, you are a Nyekan, we are all product of this region. Why should somebody get plantation name? You prefer calling the person a typical Liberian more than a Kaba, a Jakite, a Keita. This is just a perception, and we must stop it. It won't work. We fought the war, we know who won war. Nobody won war here. You want for war, you go for war, you can't find money, we go back somewhere, we take and we come for it. Then who will win? You get a friend, nobody can run anybody away from this place. If you want to fight war, we are prepared to fight war. And
yeah, there's a kind of distinction because here in our Liberian,
yes, if at all you believe that you can make this place a place that Madingo people cannot live, we will fight with everything we have to make sure that our right to be here will be preserved.
Mandingo is one of the 16 tribes in Liberia. So, but Mandingos are from North Liberia, not South.
It's done now. I think that's a lot of questions going on. I don't want to.
Don't you rock my boat, 'cause I don't